Ra. The letter Ra sounds like the Spanish rolled R. However, it is a slight roll and barely noticeable. The letter Ra is the first letter from the tip of the tongue, sixth tongue letter. If you use the tip of the tongue, flip it over and connect it to the roof of your mouth, and then start from the back, and you will not be able to make any letter sound until you reach about the middle of the roof of the mouth. This is where Ra comes from. Ra has the attributes of al-jahr, apparent, at-tawassut, moderation, where you partially run and partially trap the sound when pronouncing Ra. The gap between Ra and the next letter sound is less than a letter having the attribute of al-shidda, strength or force, but more than al-rikhawa, looseness. The gap might not be noticeable by the average person, but a trained ear can pick it up. So keep the tongue on the upper palate, the exit point of Ra when pronouncing, and do not bounce on the letter, as opposed to Hamza, for example, where it is not possible to hold the sound, as well as letters that have the quality of al-qalqala, vibration, bounce, echo, or uneasiness. Ra also has the quality of occasionally having the attribute of at-tafkhim, heaviness or thickness, and occasionally having the attribute of at-tarqiq, lightness or thinness. It is heavy when the Ra has a fatha, a vowel sign, or dhamma, u vowel sign. For example, Rasul and Rusuli. If the Ra is sakin, also called being in sukun, or having no vowel sign, and the letter before it has a fatha, a vowel sign, or a dhamma, a u vowel sign. For example, Qur'an and Arsalna. If the Ra and the letter before it both are sakin, vowelless, and the letter before them has a fatha, a vowel sign, or dhamma, a u vowel sign. For example, khusr and wal asr. A side note, letters are also in sukun or vowelless if you stop on them. If the Ra is sakin, vowelless, and the letter before it is a hamzatul wasl, a linking hamza. For example, irji'i. Or if the Ra is sakin, vowelless, and the letter before it has a kasra, a I vowel sign, and the letter before that letter is one of the 7 permanent tafkhim, heaviness or thickening, or ista'la, elevation, attribute letters. Or the letter after the Ra is one of those letters, then it also has a tafkhim, heaviness or thickening, as an attribute. For example, la bil mirsad. The Ra has the attribute of at-tarqiq, lightness or thinness, in these 4 conditions. If Ra has a kasra, I vowel sign, for example, farihu. If the Ra is sakin, vowelless, and the letter before has a kasra, I vowel sign, and is not one of the 7 letters that permanently have the attribute of at-tafkhim, heaviness or thickness. For example, firdaus. A side note, a common mistake people make is not giving the Ra its correct attribute in terms of running or trapping of the sound, which is the attribute of at-tawassut for Ra, meaning that you should hold the exit point of the Ra for a bit while pronouncing the letter. So the common mistake made is using the attribute of ash-shidda, strength or force, instead of at-tawassut, moderation. The Arabic word above is firdaus, for paradise in English. The correct pronunciation is firdaus. The incorrect and common way to pronounce is to bounce or add the attribute of al-qalqala, vibration, bounce, or echo, due to not giving the Ra the attribute of at-tawassut, moderation. So wrongly it becomes firdaus, where there's a gap in sound between the letter ra and dal. The attribute related to the running or trapping of sound is one of the most important. If the ra is sakin, vowelless, and the letter before it is a ya, that is also in sukun, vowelless state. For example, qadir. If the ra and the letter before are both sakin, vowelless, but the letter before that letter has a kasra, I, vowel sign. For example, as-sihr. And finally, if the ra and the letter before it both are sakin, vowelless, and the letter before the ra has a kasra, I, vowel sign, but is one of the 7 permanent letters that have the attribute of at-tafkhim, heaviness. Then you have the option to give the ra the attribute of at-tafkhim, heaviness, making pronunciation easier, but if you choose, you can give it the attribute of at-tarqiq, lightness or thinning, making it light instead. For example, qitr and misr. The ra also has the attributes of al-istifal, lowering, and al-infitah, opening. There is an attribute called al-inhiraf, drifting or inclination, and is unique to the ra and the lam letters. It is defined as the drifting or escaping of the sound from the original letter's exit point towards another letter's exit point, as it is being pushed out. So when pronouncing the ra, its sound should start from its point of origin, the tip of the tongue, and then drift and pushed out from the exit point of the lam, which is the edge of the tongue. And the edge of the tongue will allow the sound to escape out. A common mistake is to make the sound drift to the middle or back of the tongue. Another unique attribute to know, however, this time, in order to avoid, belongs only to the letter ra, and is at-takrir, repetition, which is the repetitive rolling of the tongue when pronouncing ra. Adding this attribute to the ra makes you pronounce many ra's in a row and not just one. So for the firdaus example given earlier, adding this attribute makes you say firdaus, etc. What you must do instead is have the tongue on the exit point of the ra and not flipping or turning the tongue over, or jabbing the roof of the mouth like a boxer does a speed bag. This will turn the ra into the Spanish rolling R and to more than one ra in Arabic. So hold the tongue on the ra's exit point. Ra is a sun letter. Unique qualities and meaning. The letter ra is the first letter from the tip of the tongue, 6th tongue letter to be precise. It's apparent and strong, but moderate in force. Ra can be both heavy and light, is lowering as well as open, and has the attribute of deviation or drifting, where in order to pronounce the ra, you have to use the exit point of another letter for the exit of its sound. Meaning, having to do with qualities of leading and commanding, movement, moderation, adaptation, lowering, and openness. In summary, ra, exit point, first exit point on the tip of al-lisan, the tongue. Attributes: al-jahr, apparent; at-tawassut, moderation; at-tarqiq, lightness or thinness; and at-tafkhim, heaviness or thickening; al-istifal, lowering; infitah, opening; inhiraf, deviation or drifting; and is a sun letter. Meaning: leading and commanding, movement, moderation, openness, lowering, adaptation, and flexibility.